The Alleghany Journal welcomes Alleghany County Covington Sheriff Kevin Hall today. Sheriff's here to talk about the 200th anniversary of the Alleghany County Sheriff's Department. And Sheriff Hall, thanks for stopping by. This is something that's going to happen at the beginning of the year, is that right?
2022 will be 200 years of the Sheriff's Office, and it'll be our 200th anniversary.
And I don't know how many people the initial Sheriff's Office started with, but we've got a picture of, what, 7 or 8 of them, and obviously it probably started off just with one, didn't it?
Probably back 1822. I'd say it's probably one sheriff, maybe a deputy, or swear people in if you get, something serious. So it'd be really interesting to see if we could go back and find a lot of that information and just see how many. And I'm sure their costume or outfit back then was not something like what we're wearing today, but probably a cowboy hat and sidearm, and that was it.
And I think you're going to have a little bit of help from Paul Lincolnhoker, who's the president of the Alleghany Historical Society. What do you think Paul's going to come up with? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. Last week, while waiting on my wife to do some Christmas shopping in Roanoke, I made a call into the Historical Society. I had to leave them a message, and then when they returned my call, the lady said, probably need to catch up with Mr. Lincolnhoker. And so I have Colonel Lincolnhoker's phone number, and I gave him a call, and we talked a little bit about it. And with the holidays coming up the next 2 weeks, we're going to get together in January and try to figure out, something. We have a couple ideas, but it's a really big thing, 200th anniversary. We'd like to really showcase some of the past.
Very few organizations around here, if any, are 200 years old. And we do have a picture of your 200th anniversary badge. We'll include that as part of this video, but that's pretty impressive. And maybe there'll be, you thought possibly some kind of an open house somehow to showcase the longevity of the department?
Right, just some initial thoughts of some of the people at Sergeant Richard Scholl we were talking, and we got a little small committee and kind of had some of the ideas, and we talked about an open house, especially maybe during street scene when there's a lot of people at at that event in downtown Covington. But we don't really know yet. We're trying to plan some things and get with Mr. Lincolnhoker and see what we can do to really pull this off and let the people see the history of the Sheriff's Office.
Well, we're delighted that you stopped by today, but now that we've got you here, there's been in recent weeks and months, there's been a little bit of discussion about what's going to happen regionally with respect to jails. And the reason why we bring this up is that the cost of housing prisoners and the minuscule reimbursement that regional jails are getting from the state has become kind of controversial. So can you give the public a feel for, are there some regional jail discussions going on, possibly the combination of various counties into one new system or some new form of cooperation?
Yes, there's a lot of layers to this discussion. I think the numbers in the paper was off just a little bit. I mean, not by a whole lot, but I think in the paper it was listed somewhere 720-some thousand. It was actually somewhere around 670, so maybe $50,000. But that's still a lot of money that we've been paying to outsource prisoners because of the overcrowding of our jail. The jail was, when it was built, yes, it was built bigger than the previous old jail, but the day that it opened, I'm pretty sure that it was full. So now, we're having issues with the overcrowding. You can't put 150 people in a 56-bed jail.
Wow.
And so our numbers are starting to go down, but also the state has not been doing what they're supposed to be doing by, when they shut down after being elected sheriff in 2008 and 2009, they closed down 6 or 7 prisons, and that started backing people up, and the local and regional jails, and then, their written rule is if you get more than 1 year, you're supposed to go to the Department of Corrections. So after 60 days, they're supposed to call us up and say, hey, bring such and such to this location for processing. Well, now there's an unwritten rule. It was the 2 years, and then it went to 3 years, so they're backing people up, putting it on the localities. And, you know, it's a strain on our locality. I feel sorry for our Board of Supervisors, our council, and having to deal with this and pay for this because the state's not following through with what they're supposed to be doing. So there's several things that are in the works to try to deal with that, along with other localities, and a good possibility of a lawsuit against the state for not following their rules.
Well, there's many layers to this, obviously, and the costs are soaring. Now, we thought we understood that the jail populations were rising. They did for a while. Did you just mention that maybe they're slacking off a bit?
They slacked off a little bit. We're down to, I think we're averaging now around 110 or 15, which is still, you know, double.
What's causing that? Do you have any idea?
It's causing it to probably decrease.
Right.
I believe the decrease is a lot of things now with a lot of the laws that have changed and letting people out of jail, not being able to, you know, pull people over for certain things. And, you know, a couple of years ago with that move about, you know, unfortunately the move of defunding police. And
so it's not less crime, it's less apprehension?
I think so. And I don't know where that's going to go, if that's going to continue, or if it's going to be a change. You know, there's a change in Virginia. January is going to be a change. Will some of these things get moved around? But we're still, you know, over capacity, so we're still talking. We have something in the works with Rockbridge. We're going to go in on an RFP with them and see if a possibility of what we can do either at our facility, their facility, either, you know, expand or build something together. We already have a radio system that we went together on, you know, that we're sharing, and
which seems to be operating pretty well.
Oh yeah, it's, you know, it's we have great coverage now. Officers and fire and rescue can communicate with each other, so that's kind of in the works to see. And we're just trying to put all our options on the table because we can't keep spending that kind of money. 600,000, 500,000, 700,000, whatever.
Every year.
Every year. I mean, that could go towards, you know, some type of a better system and a better setup and things like that. So that's what we're exploring now. It's in the works.
So you're, as I understand it, Sheriff Hall, you are one of the few sheriffs who also has a responsibility for the jail. There's just a handful left in Virginia. So on the one hand, you're law enforcement. On the other, you're administering a jail, and when you see that kind of outflow of cash, your relationship with both the city of Covington and Alleghany County, on the one hand, you want more money for your officers and operations. Then you appear to be double dipping when you come in and say, hey, we've got to have money to feed them. So, I mean, I can see how that would put pressure on you as an operator.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's something that the problem is we have to do it. You know,
this is a mandated situation.
It's mandated, and we have to hold them. I mean, the judge, we can't just let people out of jail. You know, we can't put a sign up, no vacancy, at like the hotel. When the judge says you're going to jail, you're going to jail. And we just do follow up with what, you know, the judge issues. And, you know, with the state not following through with their responsibilities and what they told us, and then they even cut the funding down. And then also, what even makes it even worse is when we're overcrowded and we have to send people out, we're getting the best deal out there at $30 a day for these other facilities to hold our prisoners, but then we don't get that reimbursement from the state. Even though we're paying the 30 out, that other location gets that reimbursement, which isn't a whole lot to begin with. And it's just a vicious cycle that, you know, are we going to be able to, this is a big number for the state of Virginia. And, you know, they're not going to roll over for a big number. And I feel like at some point, probably going to have to file a lawsuit along with a lot of other jurisdictions to be able to get our rightful money back.
Sounds like a classic case of when push comes to shove. One final thing here. You and Ingrid Barber, a couple of other individuals in the area were visionary. And Gardner, Judge Stein, you got a drug court going. You probably have a couple of dozen people involved in that program right now. Give us your feeling. How has the program gone? What does the future look like?
I believe it's just going to get better and better. We've had a few, hiccups here and there, and there's been a couple people that have washed out, but I think you're always going to have that. But, we're giving people an opportunity to straighten out their life and making, some people shouldn't live the rest of their life by one mistake. And but prior to that, we didn't have the drug court, which could help people get their life straightened out and everything. And then we got a couple other things working in the jail that next year's I'm really excited about, with potential tablets for education in the jail, kiosks and things like that to make it a smoother operation, but also to be able to get educational classes.
It's hope for the jail population,
right,
where they can say, hey, I can turn things around and I've got the tools to do it.
Right. I mean, we're giving people an opportunity, which they didn't have before. We were just locking them up and, not getting any rehabilitation at all. And then, how are they going to succeed when they get back out in the community? So that's what we really need to do, is try to, reentry, to be able to help them, educate them on if there's substance abuse, or help them be able to get employment, because they're going to live in our community. So, as they get better, then our community gets better.
We thank you very much for dropping by today. We're going to learn a little bit about Alleghany County, Covington Sheriff's Department history coming up. We learned a little bit about the regional jail and the drug court. And we thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Anytime, feel free to come anytime and talk about some of the issues.